Hello, and welcome to this regional speech therapy training on engagement and interaction. This has been developed by the Regional Children with Disabilities Speech and Language team and is delivered by Alison McCann, Speech and Language Therapist. These are the learning outcomes for today. By the end of training, you should have an understanding of what is meant by engagement and interaction. You should be able to identify where your child or young person is at in terms of being able to interact and engage with others, and also how to support the development of these skills across environments. The ability to interact and engage with others is the cornerstone of all communication. It is a foundation skill, which is why this training is the first step in the communication pyramid. As you can see, the Regional Children with Disabilities team have created a suite of webinars that follow on from this training, such as attention and listening skills and play. As expected, there will be some overlap with the various topic areas as they are interlinked, but they will help you to support the children and young person in your setting. So what is engagement and interaction? Engagement is the act of sharing in activities with another person. Interaction is a mutual or reciprocal action. Both people must be involved at the same time. These are some ways we interact and engage with others. For example, by using our body language and facial expressions, or by making or holding eye contact. There is also motoric communication, when a child communicates physically with you by leading, pulling, or pushing you to what they want or need. Or they may, for example, position themselves in a certain place, such as standing by the fridge to request a snack or drink. We may engage in shared attention, which is when two people pay attention to the same thing. This is intentional and is for social reasons. In other words, we're getting something from the experience which is usually positive and enjoyable for us. We may also use gesture, objects, photographs or symbols to engage and interact with others. So why are these skills important? As babies, we learn to engage and interact with others long before we can talk. Being able to interact and engage with others is the foundation of communication. Without these skills, it will be difficult to tell people what we want, like, don't like, how we feel, to protest or ask for something to stop, or to ask and answer questions. It is useful to think of the fundamentals of engagement and interaction. In its most basic form, it means enjoying being with another person. There is an acknowledgement of their presence and wanting to be with them. It also means sharing personal space with that person and developing the ability to attend to them. It involves learning how to self-regulate and control our arousal levels when we're with others, but more to come on that later. We understand and can use eye contact, facial expressions, physical contact, other non-verbal communication, meaningful vocalisations including speech, and taking turns in exchanges of behaviour. Which brings us to connection, and what is a connection? We want our children and young people to build a connection with others by enjoying being with another person, by bonding with them and trusting them, for them to know that others care and get a sense of well-being from that. Emotional attachment is a sense of connection and affection you may feel for someone you're close to. It's a basic human need and it allows us to sustain meaningful relationships over time. You can see this with caregivers who often attune to their baby by responding to their basic needs. So in response to seeing a baby cry, if they feel the baby's hungry, they'll pick up the baby and talk to them in a calm and soothing tone as they feed them. Connection means having empathy, knowing and caring about how someone else feels, and having that sense of self so we all feel safe, secure and calm. For the adult, that will usually involve taking time to get to know that child or young person and their likes or dislikes so that you can begin to build a rapport. Numerous factors can impact a child or young person's ability to engage and interact with others. Firstly, there's their developmental level as opposed to their chronological age. For example, we could be interacting with a 4 or 5-year-old child who is cognitively functioning at the level of a baby, so you would have to adapt your expectations and techniques to accommodate this. We would also need to be aware of their sensory needs and how well regulated they are for any interaction to occur. The communication partner is key when trying to interact and engage with someone. You must be fun, someone they're going to find interesting enough to engage with in the first place, and someone they'll want to continue spending time with. It's up to you, the adult, to be that exciting, interesting person who's always fun to be with. We need to be aware of any social communication differences, as this may impact on the fundamental skills discussed earlier and whether they have difficulty attending or listening generally. We also have to consider the environment. A communication-friendly environment is one that promotes and supports children and young people's language and communication. It's an umbrella term for describing key features of the environment and the way adults interact with children. Please refer to the Communication Friendly Environment training that's available from this team. Before you start, there are some important things to consider. It's important that families share any pertinent information with us that may affect a child or young person's overall well-being, for example, their general health, such as whether they have any respiratory issues, fatigue, etc. Some medications can impact on their level of attention or alertness too. We need to be aware of any significant life events, such as moving house, bereavement or illness, as these can all impact on a child or young person's willingness to engage and interact with others. It's useful to get updates on a child's mood or confidence level, as they may require some extra TLC and confidence building. We should also consider when and where is the best time for interaction, play and communication. Some children and young people respond best in a particular environment or area of the classroom, or they may be much more alert and awake early in the morning. We need to focus on what the child or young person is doing as opposed to what they're not doing. We should have a detailed knowledge of their strengths and interests so they'll want to engage with us. And we should consider what they can do well and not how they're doing it. But above all else, play, play, play. When it comes to engagement, children and young people do well when they can. Whatever they can do is their best attempt. So bear this in mind if they seem uninterested. They're not being lazy, and this negative language is not helpful for any child or young person to hear. Remember, children always try their best. A note now on sensory development. The child or young person's ability to regulate themselves will have an impact on everything they do, including their alertness and ability to attend and engage. Some of our senses we're more aware of, particularly our external senses. For example, vision, hearing, smell, taste and touch. Internal senses we're less familiar with, such as vestibular, which gives us information on our head position, proprioception, which gives information about the position of our limbs in space, and interoception, which helps us understand and feel what's going on inside our body. It's the one that tells us when we're hungry, thirsty, tired, or have a stomach ache. All of these sensations enter the body and are used to give the person an awareness of their environment and their body. It has an impact on their alertness and calmness, and therefore their ability to attend and engage in specific tasks. Please be aware of your child or young person's sensory preferences, as this can often be a way in and encouraging them to engage and interact with you. If in doubt, speak to the child or young person's family and their occupational therapist for further information. But always, always respect a child or young person's sensory preferences. Here are some approaches to build engagement and interaction skills. They include intensive interaction, being a responsive communication partner, people games, toys, attention autism and the curiosity programme. Let's begin with a brief look at intensive interaction. Intensive interaction is a technique aimed at helping your child learn fundamental communication skills, such as enjoying being with another person, using meaningful eye contact, a wider range of facial expressions, copying sounds, taking turns, sharing attention and concentration for longer periods of time. It's an approach where the communication partners, that could be yourself, a member of the class team or a therapist, makes themselves available for the child to interact with. The communication partner plays with the child and responds to them by imitating or joining in. The interaction goes at the child's pace and is always a response to the child's interest. It's not driven by adult-led activities. The adult waits until the child does something that they can respond to. This can be anything from a tap of a hand, making a sound, or doing a certain movement. We have attached some video clips here, so be sure to click on the links to see what this approach looks like and how the children and young people respond. So why use intensive interaction? There are a range of benefits, including increasing understanding and use of the fundamentals of nonverbal communication, for example, attention and listening, eye contact and turn taking, and increasing understanding and use of the fundamentals of verbal communication, for example, meaningful vocalizations. This approach includes a range of techniques such as imitating the child or young person's movements and vocalizations, sharing space with the child or young person, gaining eye contact when offered by the child or young person, holding back, observing and waiting, turn taking, being relaxed and unhurried, tuning in, providing enjoyment, allowing the person to lead, go first or take the first turn. The only rule is that the interaction stops when the person has had enough. Just a reminder here that there is additional training available in this approach. You can access the separate awareness webinar produced by this team, or you may wish to avail of formal intensive interaction training provided by the Intensive Interaction Institute. Children learn by participating in everyday routines and play routines. This is where they practice communicating and transferring new learning into their everyday comprehension. Please now click on this link of dads interacting with their babies, and as you go through it, consider what happens when the interaction is withdrawn. You can see how devastated the baby looks, how they try to get dad involved, how frustrated they get. They begin to look around for something else to play or do. They'll look back, cry, and even try to get out of their chair to get a response from the adult. It's an uncomfortable watch, but it gives a real idea of the benefits of interaction. Another way in which we can build engagement and interaction is by following our child or young person's lead. We have talked a lot about waiting and watching what your child does. This helps us to follow a child's lead during play and interactions. We need to give a child the opportunity to explore and then follow their lead in everyday activities. Watch what your child is looking at or playing with and then talk about it with them. Be aware that the way your child plays with or uses toys might not be the way you would expect or choose for them to do it, but that's okay. There's not a right or wrong way to play. If your child is lining up toy animals, you might be tempted to encourage them to feed the animals. This might not interest them and therefore they'll lose interest. Depending on the child's level, you could just be there with them. Remember your intensive interaction strategies, or you could name animals or comment as they play. Remember that following a child's lead creates an opportunity for shared attention and communication. Being your child or young person's communication partner. Communication partners could be parents, carers, professionals, or education staff. We are going to talk about how to be a good communication partner and therefore increase successful communication at home and in school. This is the reason we work so closely with the class team, to ensure all those communicating with a child are trained to support a child's communication and be the best communication partner they can be. This is taken from the Hannon Centre and is called oiling. It means making yourself available to a child, to be at their level and reduce distractions. So for example, there's no phone on and the TV's off. Observe what a child's doing and what they might want to communicate. You can also follow their lead and use their interests. You're going to wait and give the child a chance to communicate. Waiting and pausing is such an important strategy. Don't take the lead, remember to wait. Listen for the message through any means. Listen to their body language, their vocalisations, their gestures, their words, and interpret this. Let the child lead. A child who leads gets the language they need. Communication is not just about talking. To be a good communication partner, think of the 4 S's. Go slow. Slowing down your rate of speech and using pauses gives the child time to process what you're saying. They are more likely then to understand what you say and engage with you. It also gives you a chance to think about what you're going to say and therefore makes some of the other strategies easier. Say less. Could you reduce the amount of words you use in a sentence or simply use key words when speaking to a child? Stress. Say the important words slightly louder or with more stress. Show. Use visuals to support what you're saying. These can be pictures, gestures, signs, objects. Use your facial expressions, body language, tone of voice, etc. to match what you're trying to say. Always remember the 4 S's. Say less, stress, go slow, show. Another way to encourage engagement and interaction is by offering choices. Offering a choice will give a child an opportunity to communicate. Think about the times throughout the day when a child could make a choice, for example, what to have for break, which socks to wear, what drink, cup or plate they want to have, and which toy they want to play with. Show a child 2 things they could have and allow them to communicate their choice, either with words or pointing or looking at the item they want. Remember, we'll accept and celebrate any form of communication, so we'll try not to force a child to use words. To see if a child is making a choice they want, you can offer a preferred or non-preferred item. So you'd assume they'll want to choose the preferred item each time. An easy way to help a child interact and engage with you is to think of their play preferences. What do they like to play with and how exactly do they play with it? For children, play is crucial for their development. Children will learn best when they're motivated and when they can take the lead in play. This means letting the child choose how to play and then joining in that game with them. You can help a child learn through play by providing the toys and opportunities and joining in. If you remember our communication pyramid from earlier, the team have helpfully provided a separate, more detailed webinar that focuses exclusively on play skills. People games. Sometimes children enjoy games with no toys involved, apart from their most favourite one, you. People games give lots of opportunities for children to develop communication skills, such as communicating the choice of activity, for example, pulling on your hands to indicate they won't row the boat. Communicating that they want the activity to be repeated, for example, putting your hand on theirs once round and round the garden is finished to indicate more or again. This develops lovely turn-taking skills. Communicating that they've had enough of an activity, so for example, pulling away from you or turning their back. And developing anticipation, for example, of the tickles and round the garden, of the scream in row your boat, or the big reveal in peekaboo. These all help to develop early social communication skills such as turn-taking, eye contact, facial expression, proximity, attention and imitation. If your child or young person seems to be enjoying the game, that's great, keep going and repeat it, but if not, just try something else. Sometimes we can't plan for people games, they happen automatically or naturally when we make ourselves available to a child, or we go with what a child's doing and interested in at the time. If a child enjoys movement, you could try games such as running and chase games, up and down games such as tossing them in the air and bouncing them on your knee, swinging games, jumping games, ring-a-ring-a-rosy, which is moving round and falling down, and rocking games. If a child likes pressure and touch, they may enjoy hiding games using heavy blankets, squeeze games like hugs, touch games like tickles, or hand-holding games like pat a cake. This all helps to develop your child's skills as a communicator as they feel success from having their message understood. It also gives a lovely opportunity for meaningful interaction, which is fun for you and the child. Other examples of people games include nursery rhymes, early rhymes with actions, up and overs where the child walks up the adult's legs and flips over, 1, 2, 3 swing where you swing the child by their arms, or 1, 2, 3 swing where the child is between two people. Tug of war, which is 1, 2, 3 pull, 1, 2, 3 jump, making a pillow mountain, which is running and jumping onto a pile of pillows, peekaboo, hide and seek, tickle tickle, but use firm pushes if your child prefers deep pressure, and horsey rides. As we mentioned, the toys that a child plays with may be very individual to him or her. However, whatever way a child plays, it offers an opportunity for communication. Toys that a child needs help to work, for example wind-up toys or those with tricky buttons, can encourage a child to communicate that they need help and allows you a way to enter their play. A child may enjoy toys that appeal to their sensory preferences, so they might like light-up toys, toys that spin or make a noise, or those that have an interesting texture or can be squeezed deeply. You can develop their communication through joining them in this play, being mindful not to control it too much. You could offer choices of toys and see how the child responds. You can play ready, steady, go games to develop anticipation and shared attention. You can prepare them for the end of activities using visuals and a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown. But most importantly, you can enjoy the interaction with the child during these opportunities, interpreting their facial expressions and sounds they might make and giving them the language that goes alongside them. Then we come to outdoor play. This is not a time to chat with colleagues and have coffee. It's where many children and young people have the most fun and a great opportunity for you to join in their fun and develop interaction and engagement with others. Playing outdoors can be a great way to improve muscle tone, core strength, balance and coordination too, all things that will impact a child's ability to sit and move. Children are already having fun there. Some activities that help develop these areas include jumping and hopscotch, being in the playground or park, swimming and football clubs, Simon Says, climbing, any kind of ball games, and animal walks. For example, walking like a giraffe on your tiptoes with your arms stretched tall, jumping like a frog, or crawling like a bear on all fours. Remember, when children are having fun outside, we have a brilliant opportunity to join in and interact together. Another top tip is to make it sensory, or even better, multi-sensory. It is great to expose our children to various sensory mediums. For example, a baking tray full of sand, rice, lentils or shaving foam, strips of paper, card, lollipop sticks, straws or pipe cleaners, Play-Doh or finger painting, or even a chalkboard. But be aware that if a child is sensitive to sensory input, you need to warn them using visuals that the activity is coming, let them know when it's going to end, and gradually expose them at their own pace. And remember, you always adapt the activity, so use a paintbrush rather than finger painting if it's too much for that child. Attention autism. This is an intervention approach devised by speech and language therapist Gina Davies, which aims to work on the early fundamentals of language, including awareness of others, attention, listening, shared attention, switching attention, and turn-taking. It aims to develop natural and spontaneous communication through the use of visually based and highly motivating activities. Resources include rainbow spinners, light up noisy balls, vibrating toys, chattering teeth, spinning tops, rainmakers, bubbles, fans, balloon pumps, anything you can get to make yourself irresistible to a child to play with. Another approach we have from Gina Davies is the Curiosity Programme. This is a strategy used to teach individuals to develop the skill of curiosity, form positive relationships with others, and to learn to engage with a wider range of stimuli. We create curiosity about the world, nurture communication, and foster interaction through shared joyful times together. In short, this is about making connections with a child or young person and nurturing communication in a one-to-one setting. We show them something interesting and aim for the child or young person to look and opt in. This approach is often used with children and young people who are too young to be working in a group, so they're younger than 2 years old or they're not yet ready for the Attention Autism Group programme. The child or young person will engage with motivating items in a one-to-one environment with an adult to support anticipation, exploring and engaging. You can apply for formal Attention Autism and Curiosity Programme training by visiting Gina's website. Links are attached at the end of this presentation. So remember, to get the interaction going, stop, look and listen. Stop and look at what the child is doing or is interested in. This will help you follow the child's lead and help them engage with you for even longer. Listen to the child. What are they saying using words, vocalising or gestures? Remember to give them time. This will help you figure out the message the child is trying to send you. Now you're ready to respond. Comment on what the child is doing or looking at. Interpret their message by saying it as they would if they could. And remember to be face to face. In summary, to get engagement and interaction with our children and young people, you'll need to take time to get to know them and build a rapport. Be fun and engaging so they look forward to time with you and want to keep it going longer. Make sure to be face to face and get down to their level. Let them lead. A child may not play with something the way you would play with it, but this is okay. Bubbles do spill. Putting their fingers on the wand is okay. If they're running around, forget who's watching and join in. But remember that as join in, don't take over. You can comment, label and reduce the number of questions. You can offer choices. Make sure books are accessible. They're an excellent way of learning and expanding vocabulary and improving attention. Make sure you get your class to a library. You can never spend too much time reading with a child. Read stories to them and repeat as needed. Rhymes are important as they allow children to think about the sounds and words. They also help with attention as you can pause and leave some words out. Actions and rhymes will also help with understanding, and of course you can sing just about anywhere. Remember your sensory play as needed, for example water play. And then there's intensive interaction. Remember, you are a child's best toy and you are everything to them. All of these tips and approaches will help develop interaction and engagement with any child or young person. We're going to conclude with a little quiz now. Can you describe what we mean by interaction and engagement? Can you give 4 examples of the fundamentals of communication? Can you identify factors that would impact on someone's ability to interact and engage with others? Can you state 3 approaches and strategies that would help you support a child or young person to develop their interaction and engagement skills? Hopefully you've managed to achieve the learning outcomes for this training and you now know of some approaches to help a child or young person develop these skills. If you have any questions, please speak to your local speech and language therapist for further support and guidance. Please also refer to the other trainings available from the Regional Children with Disabilities Speech and Language Therapy team. Thank you.